Hi guys, you are welcome to Finance Edge with Marty Mayowa. Today, I'll be talking about how you can pass your Advanced Performance Management. Advanced Performance Management APM is one of the papers that you get to choose if you are writing the elective aspect of the ACCA professional exam. It is one of the papers that happens to be most notorious with the lowest global pass rate of around 34% and sometimes 35%. So, in my own experience, I'll be taking you through some of the major insights and strategy that I adopted that actually worked for me after attempting this paper 6 times. Yes, 6 times. I wrote APM 6 times and it took me so long to understand what the mind of the examiner is. So I am here to let you know some of the major things I feel you can also do right, especially for those who are preparing for this upcoming diet. So you need to identify what you need to change, especially if you have been failing at marginal rates. That is, you've been scoring around 45 to 48 to 49. You are very close. You are already there. You just need to do one or two things that might eventually help you to gain those extra 2 or 3 marks to ace your exam. So I'll be taking you through some of the major insights and strategy that you can adopt going forward. One of the ways to pass APM exam is do not panic. Do not panic. The exam has the lowest global pass rate, evidently, but that doesn't mean people don't pass this paper. And it will surprise you that some people don't struggle as much as I do to pass this exam. In most cases, some might find it very difficult and some might find it very easy. It's sometimes a function of who you are and your level of preparedness. So in my experience, I wrote these papers about, 5 different diets before I could eventually pass this December diet 2023. And I'm trying to let you know that with fear, you cannot go far in passing your APM exam because fear is not good for grade. APM has the lowest global pass rate, but that is not to tell you that you cannot pass it. And I can evidently tell you, if you follow some of the insights I'll be sharing now, you will understand that this exam can actually be passed and you can actually be one of the successful candidates in this upcoming diet. So do not forget, the first thing is to take away fear. Do not panic. Take your mind off the global pass rate. Take your mind off the news you've heard, a lot of gist you've heard about APM. And in fact, it creates the reason for which most people don't choose APM as an elective paper because it is difficult to actually pass this exam. I'll tell you a quick story of one of the reasons for which APM is very difficult to pass. Number one, if you look at the SBR exam and some other papers that we have, such as the AFM and SBL, you can get away with some of the knowledge that are embedded in these questions in the exam. And you can as well go away with a lot of marks if you are very good with your IFRS and relevant accounting standard in your AAA and also your SBR exams. But with APM is a subjective paper. That is, it is judgmental. You need to be able to understand why people fail APM. The reason is because there is no standard practice. That is, there is no standard rule that governs how you should write and how you are expected to write. That is one of the major reasons people pass APM. Until you've gotten the relevant skills and competence as expected, the examiner may not be able to overlook some of your shortcomings. And these are the shortcomings I'm ready to address because I wrote this particular paper 6 times and I can tell you all of the lessons I took away from each of the 5 attempts. There was a diet I scored 48 and I nearly just gave up writing the exam. And, it just gets to you mostly when you are failing marginally. And I know there might be people or some students who are also in this same situation. So you just need to change 1 or 2 things. You just need to do 1 or 2 things right. And these are the major things I'm here to tell you. Now, IFRS can be very well understood and it's a common knowledge. Examiner understood it. That is why XBR and the other exams that are, principle based are easy to pass. Do not forget, APM is a performance metric exam. That is, it is performance oriented. And because there is no two basic rule that is fit for all organizations, each organizations or every organization have their own relevant and peculiar way of doing things. That is, way of managing performance and way of assessing performance. So it is with this peculiarity, it became much more difficult to now pass APM exam. If you look at APM, some of the topics there are very simple. There are things that you know. You even look at it and you ask yourself, what is in this exam that is, very difficult for people to pass? Is it the transfer pricing? Is it the value-based management? Or is it the, everything that has to do with activity-based management and also all of the relevant strategic models like Fitzgerald and Moon building block, balance scorecard, all of those knowledge of Pestel, SWOT, BCG metrics. You all know all of these things, right? And they are pretty simple, even to anyone that is not writing ACCA exam. You should be able to read this and understand it. But the problem is the application of it to the scenario given to you. Do not forget, the first way to pass APM is not to entertain fear. Do not get scared. You need to be ready to pass this exam, which moved me to the point I'm going to make next. Having understood that the exam is subjective, that is, no relevant standard that governs how you should write, or nobody will structure your mind as to how you should write. You need to now get into a positive mindset. Getting into a positive mindset is very, very important. And for you to get comfortable on the exam day, you need to believe that you are going to pass it. And in believing that you are going to pass, that will help you settle down to reflect on the scenario presented to you. You will think more as a consultant. If you do not entertain positive mindset, it is difficult for you to look at things from a broader perspective based on the scenario presented to you. You need to eliminate fear factor, and also you need to be very positive that you are going to pass. With these two initial factors, then you can now settle down and ask yourself, what is so difficult in all of the scenarios presented before you? The easiest way to pass APM exam is to think and act like a consultant. And you cannot think and act like a consultant when you are tensed or when you are not positive minded. To think and act as a consultant simply means you are looking at the question from a consultant perspective, and you are also writing or drafting your response as a consultant. Until then, you might be struggling to gain examiner's favor in terms of getting away with 1 mark. So you need to be ready to showcase all that you've learned through studying and also through rigorous reading into practice. If you are going to practice confidently and you are going to pass this exam, you must be ready to resolve any fear factor and also be very sure of yourself that you are passing it. Do not forget, you need to now act and think like a consultant. How do I act and think like a consultant? When you get your scenario before you, you need to first of all ask yourself, what is the most important thing before diving into answering the question? The most important element that you must understood is the mission and the vision statement of the organization in question. The examiner has drafted the scenario to revolve around how suitable the metrics or the models or the performance management or system of an organization is suitable in line with the mission and vision of that organization. So if the vision and mission is to probably increase shareholders' wealth, then you need to ensure that you are asking serious questions if the business is delivering value at the end of the day to the shareholders. You can see the way we are linking it. You need to digest the vision and mission of that organization. For every question, there is always a mission statement, and they will tell you how the organization intends to achieve it. It is this breakdown of vision and mission statement that you should be cognizant of, such that you can take out some of the key performance indicator that can be useful. You will craft, let's say, a critical success factor from some of these major outline that the management has set out as a basis for achieving the mission. If one of the ways to ensure that we achieve shareholders' wealth maximization is to ensure that we deliver above 20% net margin year on year, that is a critical success factor. How do we now measure this? Do you want to measure this by looking at net margin or by looking at financial variable or non-financial factors? These are the ways to link the examiner's mission and vision statement to critical success factor down to key performance indicator. What mostly happened in most of the previous attempts I've made, I don't really pay attention to this critical area of the exam. I just attempt it based on, I'm under time pressure. I want to finish to time. I want to rush it. I want to pour out my mind. I don't think before writing. And I'm telling you today that if you commit the same mistake, chances that you fail the exam is very high. You need to think and act like a consultant. You need to be ready. You need to be sure that you are ready to take the shoe or the cap, wear the cap of a consultant on the exam day. You are not going to rote learn all that you are going to do that day, because it can be very surprising. Scenario can come out from different perspectives, and it will shock you that most of these exams are not so easy to come by. You might be lucky to get a scenario that works in your favor, and in the next attempt, it might be a scenario that will throw you off balance. So you don't want to mess up every opportunity you have to act as a consultant. So you have understood why it is important to take mission and vision statements into consideration whenever you are answering APM questions. For every of the questions in the exam, they will surely tell you this is the vision or the mission of the management. This is what the business intends to achieve, and this is how they intend to achieve it. Now ask yourself, based on the scenario that you have read, have they actually worked in relation to some of these set goals? Have they actually act in the best interest of the shareholders? Is all of the actions of the management at large, is it in support or is it in relation to all of the set mission and vision statements? You need to be able to question the management. This is where your skepticism comes up. There was a scenario in the exam, I could remember, the management were trying to create a division that will be profitable. You want to achieve a profitability measure as a way of performance management, and yet management keeps spending unnecessarily on activities that are not adding value. This is where you can demonstrate skepticism, because I know a lot of people will now ask, how do I demonstrate professional skills? This is only skepticism. I've not gotten to how to demonstrate professional skills. I'm only talking about how you can begin to exhibit all of the consultant mindset and skills. You need to question management. Why are you doing this? Why have you chosen this model? Why have you chosen this particular strategy? Because it is not in line with the set mission and vision of the entity. If you don't do all of these things, chances that you don't attract or you don't call the attention of the examiner is very high. You don't go into APM exam with the mindset of you want to go and regurgitate knowledge. You need to challenge whatsoever is presented to you. And that is the premise I'm coming from. Think and act like a consultant. Question the management. Demonstrate skepticism. How do you do that? You can say that based on the set mission of the organization, ABC Enterprise seems to not be in alignment with the number 2 vision, which talks about value maximization. This is questionable, and management need to explain to the board why they are deviating from the initial agreement in terms of goal set, you are demonstrating skepticism in this regard. If you are questioning management, if you are probing strategy, models, KPIs, this is a good way to get, even if it's just extra 1 mark. So that is one of the things you must do. You must think and act like a consultant. And another most important thing, because I have it written down, I don't want to miss out any detail. I've written down so much here for everyone, and I'm still going to even look at the most important part. One of the most important things you must also do is to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Majority are very good in calculation, and they have done so well to map out all the calculations in APM syllabus. But APM exam is not overly calculative. In fact, APM exam is 20% calculative and 80% discursive. That is, whatsoever calculation you think you have known or you have wasted all your effort knowing, it may not really add value except you build those calculations into your analysis and evaluation. You cannot leverage only on you want to go into the exam to calculate, a standard costing, or you want to calculate transfer pricing for a division, and that is all that you have in your mindset. You cannot really go far in terms of nearing 40% because the exam is more discursive. You are going to be advising and adding value to an enterprise, and if you are going to do this, you must ensure that you have every knowledge of the business, both qualitative and quantitative. So your quantitative knowledge is only going to support your analysis and evaluation, not like you are going to calculate anything comprehensive in the exam. And most people do it so long, wasting time on calculation rather than using this calculation as a basis of discussion. I'm still going to get to that as well. So you must identify your strength and your weakness. You must ask yourself, are you writing more than enough that is sufficient to give you your 50% pass mark? If you are writing below 40 paragraphs in the exam, chances that you will not score 50 is very high, because I need to tell you what you need to do to get your 50 marks. Number one, you must write at least nothing less than 60 paragraphs. And when I say 60 paragraphs, I mean 60 value adding paragraphs. How do you write 60 value adding paragraphs? Each paragraph must contain nothing less than 45 words. 45 words simply means if you are saying that the KPI of using net margin for profitability seems unsuitable, you have not added value. You have only stated the obvious. You need to now go further and justify by saying this is because net profit is an accounting profit and may not be a true reflection of the overall value created by the business. It is important for management to use a preferable KPI such as economic value added that is more of economic profit, which can allow management to understand where values are being created and if values are also eroded. All of these should give you about 45 words. You can see I said this is because, you know why I'm stating the justification? Because I am the only one that understood why I criticize management for using net profit margin. If I had stopped there, I have not added value. You need to go further by explaining why you think that particular metric or KPI is unsuitable. Until then, you are only joking in the exam. You cannot score 1 mark. And what I said now is only going to fetch me 1 mark if well developed. If you don't develop your APM points very well, chances that you will not get 1 mark is very high. And that is why I am emphasizing the need for you to build a sound justification skill whenever you are answering your questions. For every statement you make, please ensure you write, this is because. It is a prompt. It enables you to write further. It enables you to explain yourself, because that is what you have to do in the exam. If you don't explain yourself, examiner cannot assume your interpretation for you. You need to tell the examiner, this is what I meant. And by doing that, you are justifying your 1 mark per point. And that is the most important aspect of this exam. If you don't justify, you may not get your 1 mark. Now imagine if you have a well-developed paragraph, well-justified paragraph that you gave sound explanation for, and you need to write 50 of that under 3 hours, 15 minutes. So for you to pass this exam, you must at least write almost 50 or 60 for me to, let's have a safety net. Write 60 value adding paragraphs. And when you are writing it, it tells you that if your paragraph is not robust enough, you have not added value. And that is why people fail APM, because you have not actually added value. You have only stated the obvious. Anyone can just look into the scenario and state the same thing you stated. You have not advised the business. You have not acted as a consultant. If the management will not use a market-based transfer pricing, you need to tell us why you think that should not be done or why it is not suitable. If you are recommending, let's say, a negotiated transfer pricing, you must be able to justify why you want management to use a negotiated transfer pricing. And you need to do all of this under 3 hours, 15 minutes. So it took me so long to realize all of these major skills, because no one wants to tell you what you need to do for APM because it is a subjective paper. But I can tell you, if you build in a sound justification skill by acting as a consultant, you will surely pass your APM exam. So bear in mind, you must build justification skills. Know your strengths and your weakness. Do not waste time on the calculative part, knowing fully well that calculation is not going to fetch you the pass mark you are looking for. The calculation you have done is only useful if interpreted, and you need to add value. If you have calculated a ratio or an EVA, you need to now bring it into your discussion so that it can earn you analysis and evaluation marks. So do not forget, identify your strengths and weakness. The exam is near. Know what works for you. Which topic are you here to cover? That is very, very essential. Now, talking about building justification skill, that is clear. You must say because so that it prompts you to explain yourself. Now, let us now go to a crucial aspect that I feel we need to also know. And that aspect is, if you have been failing APM before now, you need to understand your current position. And if this is your first time, you are very lucky to come across this video, because this video will set you up for pass. And I'm telling you, you need to understand what your current score is. If you are scoring 25 to 30, you have a serious knowledge problem. The same thing for people scoring between 30 to 35 or 30 to 40. You have knowledge gap. That is, your knowledge of some of these major models, topics, calculations, they are not in depth yet. So you need to go back and read just to gain knowledge of some of the topics you think you know. Do not underestimate any topic. The divisional performance that you think you know, you may not actually know it the way the examiner wanted you to know it. Go back to it and refresh your memory. So when you read some of this, it gives you understanding of what each of the topic is talking about, so that when you get to the exam, you are not lacking knowledge. For instance, when you see tunnel vision, suboptimality, and you are saying goal congruence, you can easily understand what each of these concepts mean. Not like you will be racking your head to think of what is the meaning of this. You will not have that luxury of time in the exam to be asking questions or to be, racking your brain for interpretation. Therefore, you need to get knowledge. This is important for people that are between the range of 25 to 40. It is a knowledge problem. Now, another problem that could come up for people within 25 to 40 again, beyond knowledge, is time management. Time management is peculiar and pervasive for everyone. So when you look at time management, you can actually have issues if you spend too much time on calculation, like I said. And if you don't practice very well, which is the last thing I'm going to talk about, you will not get better. You will be wasting time and you will not be able to maximize the 3 hours, 15 minutes to your best advantage. So time management could be an enemy. Also, knowledge gap could be an enemy for those people within the range of 25 to 40. If you are around 45 to 49, your case is very easy. You are close to passing. The only problem here is exam techniques. And you can only get your exam techniques right if you go over your practice. At this point, for people within that range, that is from 40 to 45, you don't need so much knowledge. You only need practice. You only need to practice to time. Give yourself a time in a very quiet environment, in a controlled environment. Lock your door, set your timer, use your 3 hours, 15 minutes, demonstrate how you want that exam day to look like. Until then, you are only joking. You need to practice to pass APM, because it is in practicing you will be able to demonstrate some of these justification skills that I mentioned, some of these, writing skills that I mentioned. You cannot get it right until you have practiced. You need an intense exam practice on the CBE platform for you to pass the ACCA APM exam. It is a notorious exam and it demands extra effort. The extra effort for those people within 40 to 48, 49 should be devoted to practicing. For people within that range of 25 to 40, you need to go and get knowledge and also now add more practice to it. You are supposed to emphasize more on practice, but because you lack knowledge, go back to the basics. Those Lean Six Sigma, those strategic models like Balanced Scorecard and Soft Growth Metrics, all those strategic models that you think BCG metrics, Porter's 5 forces, Pestel, SWOT, go over them afresh just to be sure you have, not every boat. That is very important for you. And also, another most important thing now is how to get your professional marks. You can also get better with your professional marks if you have practiced very well. The communication marks is the most important marks that you can get easily. It requires less effort. All you just have to do, structure your report as a consultant. Like I said, structure it as a consultant the way a consultant will write. The format is there for you to see on the CBE platform, and also you can check previous solutions and the examiner's report. Go and see all of these most important value adding aspects that the examiner wants you to do. Number one, you need to build a good introduction. You also need to build a good mission breakdown. The mission of the organization should be broken down and link it to how the organization or the management intends to achieve it. That is very important. It can earn you extra 1 mark. Mission breakdown. The mission breakdown can be simply stated in less than 3 or 4 lines and you are done. Then you must also now, signpost all your answers. That is, for every point you are raising, ensure you start on a fresh paragraph. Do not lump your answers together. You make it difficult for examiner to mark. You must write it as paragraph by paragraph. The examiner mark 1 mark per paragraph. That's how they mark. So if you lump everything together as if you're writing essay, a narrative essay, you have only shortchanged yourself, because the examiner will be looking for where you are, adding value. And it might take so long for examiner to be fishing that out, and you don't want to minimize your opportunity of passing. Ensure you break down all your points per paragraph. The way it is done, for every new idea or point that you want to develop, start from a fresh paragraph. And when you start from a fresh paragraph, ensure you add value by saying because you must justify it. If not, you are only joking. So I believe you are getting enough insight from this session, and I want you to please reflect, watch this video over and over again so you could plan with all of these insights going forward before the exam. For your professional skill marks, I mentioned the communication marks. You are good to go if you know how to structure your report and give a conclusion, give recommendation where needed. You need to go and build sound communication skill to get all of the necessary marks. Analysis and evaluation requires you to build in analysis, use your calculation to justify your point, and ensure you have a balanced perspective. You are a judge. So if you are to evaluate, it means you are weighing pros and cons and you must come to conclusion. If you don't do all of this, there is no extra mark for you. That is one of the reasons for which APM is difficult to pass. Examiner is expecting so much and a lot of things from you, which you are unaware of, and the syllabus has only tell you all the skills you need to have to pass. They did not demonstrate how you should go about it. And that is why it took me 6 attempts to get to this point. And I'm telling you, I don't want you to make the same mistake. Do not overblow your opportunity. Do not, underestimate any of the topics and any of the professional marks. Analysis and evaluation go as far as how much robust you are giving justification and you are defending everything you are saying. That is very crucial for you to build. Also, you have commercial acumen. Your commercial acumen is, a number of things. It's your wealth of experience. It's your, let's say, knowledge transfer. It connects to each other. Everything that you know, both in SBR, SBL, connects to commercial acumen. The wider understanding of business environment is crucial for you to gain commercial acumen. And also, you are looking at commercial acumen from the perspective of this is what the business intends to achieve, and this is what the management is doing. Is that in dissonance or they are in agreement? You need to be able to identify this and ensure that for every of your action or every of your recommendation, they are tailing towards the business goal. The commercial acumen skill is very, very important, and you must ensure that you get it right. And also, you have your which other skepticism. Yes, I've mentioned that earlier, but I will reiterate that. Your skepticism means probing management assumptions, probing management, conclusion. If management makes a statement and you feel this is not in alignment with the mission of the business, you can get skepticism mark by pointing it out in your analogy. You must be able to fish out all of this. You must be mentally aware and alert during the exam. Every point you raise matters and you must develop them very well. Then, like I said, you are expected to add value to the business. Do not just write for writing's sake. Ask yourself, if I am the one that owns this business, or if I am the chief finance officer for this business, is this how I am going to advise the business? If you are representing a business, is this how you intend to advise the business? Until then, you are not adding value. You add value by looking at the business and help them to get better. I could remember a scenario as well of a business that has to do with, just like Uber kind of business that has to do with, ride service. And what happened was the review rating was poorly done. They allow, passengers to rate them before the commencement of the trip. How possible is that? You can question this. This is not going to be reflective of the reality of the performance because you are giving review even before the performance of the service. That is going to lead to, suboptimality or a tunnel vision or even misrepresentation, let's put, because you are going to say what favors the driver and you have not experienced the service itself. Until you've gotten to your final destination and you are satisfied with the service, that is when it is expected or acceptable for you to place a review. But in that scenario, that wasn't the case. Scenarios are very suitable for you to soak yourself into what the management is trying to achieve and what the examiner wants you to do. Until you have digested the scenario very well and you ask yourself to calm down, act like a consultant. Do not call back all of the knowledge. Don't call it. The exam period is not for you to be recalling all the knowledge that you read in the book. Just calm down. Think about how you would do it if it is a real life situation. If it is you in the capacity of a performance manager, how would you have addressed the situation? That is you acting as a consultant. If you think this way, chances that you will pass your APM is very, very high. Very, very high. You must build justification skill. For every point you raise in the exam, you must emphasize why you are saying what you are saying. You must give explanation of why you think that way, because the examiner cannot interpret that for you. You are the one adding value to the business. And to add value to the business, you must justify everything that you make. Another most important point that I put down here that I feel can help you so well is if you have a strategic model such as Fitzgerald and Moon building block or performance pyramid, you can get 1 mark away if you just define what that model is all about before you apply it. So if you are to recommend, or let's say you are told to use balance scorecard to justify why the performance of the business might be unsuitable, you may want to explain what balance scorecard is just under 2 lines. Don't go too far. Balance scorecard is a non-financial performance model that helps organizations to look inward beyond numbers. That is, it incorporates perspectives such as innovations and training, customer perspective, financial perspective, etc. That's all. 1 mark. Then you now apply it. So you can get 1 mark by just giving a slight definition of the strategic models you are to use in the exam. We are looking at how you can move from 48 to 50. And if you do all of these things, you will surely be very, very successful. When I was writing my exam, I looked so well for videos like this. I could not even find any. And it was part of the reason I said, whatsoever I have passed through, I must not put other people through it. And I've put together most of the insights I derived from writing APM in 6 attempts. You too can get better by thinking this way and by writing as a consultant. If you don't write this way, chances that you will be failing marginally is very high. Do not rely too much on technical knowledge. You only need technical knowledge to add value to the business. And I wish you all the very best of luck. In case you have further questions or you have any, opinion on this video, drop a comment in the comment section and I promise to address it, and we can from there also build a solid interaction. I believe advanced performance management is very easy to pass if and only if you will think and act like a consultant and add value to the business. Please hit the subscribe button because I promise to upload more updates and videos that might address some major topics and how students can navigate these topics in the exam. I wish you all the very best of luck and I hope to see you in the comment section. Drop a comment for me if you find it very value adding. Thank you so much and have a wonderful exam.